Welcome back to Lingo Ladder, and thank you for joining me again on my Canadian road trip adventure. My name is Alex, I am from Montreal, and in this series I am traveling from my home city all the way to Vancouver while practicing my English and sharing my experiences with you. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to Lingo Ladder, so you can improve your English listening and speaking skills while traveling across Canada with me. After spending a few days in Toronto, it was time to continue my journey westward. Leaving the tall skyscrapers and busy streets behind, I felt excited to see what new landscapes and cities were waiting for me on the road. The highway quickly carried me out of the city, and soon the view changed to green fields, smaller towns, and wide open skies. My first stop was Hamilton, a city that many people call the City of Waterfalls. Although it is known as an industrial city with factories and steel production, it also has more than 100 waterfalls hidden in the surrounding nature. I walked a short trail to see Webster's Falls, where the water dropped powerfully into a rocky valley, and the fresh air gave me energy for the day. From Hamilton, I drove toward one of the most famous natural wonders in the world, Niagara Falls. As I got closer, I could feel the excitement growing inside me, because I had seen pictures of the falls many times, but now I was finally here in person. When I reached the viewing area, the sound of rushing water was so loud that it covered every other noise, and the mist from the falls touched my face like light rain. Standing in front of Horseshoe Falls, the largest of the three waterfalls, I was amazed by the enormous wall of water crashing down every second. The force of nature was so powerful that I could feel the ground shaking slightly under my feet. I took the famous boat tour, wearing a bright red raincoat, and as the boat moved closer to the falls, the mist became stronger until my clothes were completely wet. It was an unforgettable moment, standing there surrounded by water, noise, and energy, with everyone on the boat laughing and cheering. Later, I walked along the promenade to see the American Falls and Bridal Veil Falls from different angles, and each one had its own beauty and charm. At night, I returned to see the falls again, this time lit up by colorful lights that made the water glow in red, blue, and purple, creating a magical atmosphere. The Niagara region is also famous for its vineyards and wineries, because the mild climate near Lake Ontario is perfect for growing grapes. I stopped at a small winery to taste the famous Canadian ice wine, which is made from grapes that are harvested while frozen, and its sweet flavor was unlike any other wine I had tried before. Driving through the countryside, I passed fields, small villages, and the calm waters of Lake Erie, which reminded me that Canada's beauty is not only in big cities but also in its peaceful rural landscapes. My next destination was London, Ontario, a mid-sized city named after London in England. It has a river called the Thames, just like in the United Kingdom, and the city is known as a center for education and healthcare. I walked around the campus of Western University, where students from around the world come to study, and the green lawns and old buildings gave the city a friendly, academic atmosphere. From London, I drove further south to Windsor, a city that sits directly across the river from Detroit in the United States. Standing by the river, I could clearly see the tall buildings of Detroit on the other side, and the Ambassador Bridge connected the two countries like a giant steel ribbon. It was interesting to think that people here can cross into another country in just a few minutes, something very different from life back in Montreal. After Windsor, I began a longer journey north towards Sudbury, passing through flat farmland, forests, and small communities. Sudbury is famous for its mining history, especially for producing nickel, and a giant nickel monument outside the city reminded me of the importance of natural resources in Canada's economy. I visited Science North, a large science museum built beside a lake, where interactive exhibits about nature and technology made me feel both entertained and educated. Driving further west, the landscape began to change, and soon I was surrounded by the endless forests and lakes of northern Ontario. This part of the journey was long and sometimes lonely, but the views of tall pine trees, clear blue lakes, and winding roads made it worth every kilometer. Eventually, I reached Thunder Bay, a city located on the northern shore of Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake in the world by surface area. Standing on the shore of Lake Superior, I was amazed at how it looked more like an ocean than a lake, with waves crashing on the rocks and the horizon stretching far into the distance. One of the most famous landmarks here is the Sleeping Giant, a huge rock formation on a peninsula that looks like a giant lying down on its back. Local legends say that the giant is a spirit protecting the region, and looking at it from the city, I could see why it has inspired so many stories. Thunder Bay also felt like a city of contrasts, with modern shops and busy streets in the center, but wild nature only a short drive away. I ate a simple meal of fresh fish caught from Lake Superior, and the taste reminded me again of how closely Canadians live with their natural environment. As I prepared to continue my trip, I realized that traveling across Ontario was not only about cities, but also about nature, history, and culture combined. The final part of this episode took me across the long road from Thunder Bay to Winnipeg, a journey that crossed forests, rivers, and endless stretches of highway. Crossing the border into Manitoba, the scenery began to change once again, with the land becoming flatter and wider as I entered the prairies. After hours of driving, I finally arrived in Winnipeg, the capital of Manitoba and the first big city of the prairies. In Winnipeg, I visited the Forks, a historic market area where people gather to eat, shop, and enjoy music and culture. I walked along the Red River and Assiniboine River, which meet at this spot, and the view of the Human Rights Museum with its unique glass design was striking and modern. Winnipeg also introduced me to the culture of Métis and Indigenous peoples, whose traditions are an important part of the city's identity. Walking through the market, I tried bannock, a type of traditional bread, and listened to local musicians playing lively songs that made the atmosphere warm and welcoming. After the long drive from Toronto, it felt good to be in a place full of energy and community, where history and modern life met so naturally. I knew that this was only the beginning of my adventure in the Canadian Prairies, but already I had learned so much about the diversity of this country. Before ending this episode, I thought about everything I had experienced on the road. Hamilton had shown me waterfalls and industry, Niagara Falls had given me power and magic, London had felt academic and calm, Windsor had connected me to the United States, Sudbury had told me stories of mining, Thunder Bay had offered nature and legends, and Winnipeg had welcomed me with culture and energy. Each place had been different, but together they told the story of Canada's vastness and variety. Thank you for joining me on this second episode of my Canadian road trip. If you enjoyed the journey, please like this video, subscribe to Lingo, and stay tuned for episode 3, where we will continue deeper into the Canadian prairies toward Regina and beyond.